Shabbat Shalom, friends. I'm Rabbi Denise Eger, and welcome to Shabbat Services with Congregation Kol Ami in West Hollywood, California. That was a beautiful, beautiful piece by Steve Schiller, Livracha, based on the text for the blessing and not for the curse, for plenty and not for scarcity, for life and not for death, played by our wonderful accompanist for many years, Lisa Edwards. We're so glad you're joining us on this Shabbat. What a week! What a week our country has experienced as we still sit on pins and needles. We welcome our student rabbi, Ilana Rabishaw, our board member, Rebecca Schurz, and we are hoping you'll sit back and take a moment to breathe deeply of Shabbat as we celebrate with one another. Here at Kol Ami, we use the Reform Movement Siddur, which is Mishkan Tefillah, and if you'd like to follow along, you can go to ccarpress.org and find the flipbook version under Shabbat resources for Shabbat and holidays, and we'll be calling out the page numbers for that book. And so tonight we're going to continue to welcome Shabbat and welcome each other, and welcome the Sabbath as our beloved, singing Dodi Leave, Anilo Haroeh from the Song of Songs, chapter 2 and chapter 3. And you can find it in your prayer book if you'd like to sing along on page 653. Dodi Leave, Vanilo Haroeh Bashoshanim, Dodi Li Bizotola Min Hamirvan Bizotola Min Hamirvan Dodi Li Vanilo Haroeh Bashoshanim, Dodi Li Mikuteret Mor Morulevona Morulevona Adodi Li Dodi Li Vanilo Haroeh Bashoshanim, Dodi Li Bashoshanim, Dodi Li.
I'm on page 121. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. If you have your candles near me, I invite you to join me in the kindling of our Shabbat lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We join together now as we celebrate Kiddush. If you have a glass of wine, a Kiddush cup, grape juice near you, we invite you to lift it high. Turning to page 123, I think we have a nice Baron Herzog white Chardonnay tonight. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagofen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, b'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim. Tradition teaches that the angels of peace, God's heavenly angels, come and visit each and every home on Shabbat and bring us beautiful blessings, not only for the week that was, but for the Sabbath, and that will carry with us into the week ahead. We join together and sing the words of Shalom Aleichem, words of greeting to these angels of peace. You can find them in your prayer book on page 142 as we sing together. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malchei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bachuni L'Shalom, Arei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvchem L'Shalom, Malchei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
As is our tradition at Congregation Kol Ami, we now take a moment to welcome one another and to say Shabbat Shalom, whether they are sitting at your table, next to you, on your couch, or whether you want to send them a text or post in the chat or comments on our Facebook or YouTube pages. Shabbat Shalom to all of you.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm on page 149. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen. We turn now to think about oneness, the oneness of the Jewish people, the oneness of God and the Jewish people. And let's be honest, we need oneness in our country, a sense of commonality and unity despite our differences. So as we think of God's oneness tonight, let that oneness flow through us as we praise God and sing the words of the Shema, page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We turn to page 154 as we chant the V'ahavta prayer together. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham v'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uvshachpecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uktavtaham amazuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem ekom mitzvotai v'item kedoshim leloechem ahani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. As our ancestors crossed the Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds, towards freedom, we think about the ways in which we too have to cross over. We too have to hold our heads up and jump in and take the risk for freedom. And so as we sing and praise God as our ancestors did, let us think about moving forward to a new time, a new place, a place of freedom, a place of liberty, a place of celebration. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Nova tehilot, osef elef, Nova tehilot, osef elef.
I'm finding myself taking a really big, deep breath right now and hope that you are as well. I think we need it. This week, especially, I've taken a lot of comfort in the many blessings that I have in life, but especially having many places that I call home. With so much uncertainty in myself, in our community, in our country, and in this world, I found comfort in the following words by one of my home rabbis, Rabbi Karen Kadar in Chicago. As we reach the point in our service where we ask God for comfort, shelter, and protection, I hope that these words bring you much needed comfort and peace as well. Grace in the wilderness, God, creator of light and goodness, may we find grace in the wilderness. Holy One of blessing, may this be my prayer. Still my troubled being, for I yearn to emerge from darkness and confusion. Lift me, carry me, set upon a rock, that I may feel safe within the storm. I have sat in the valley of tears long enough. Strengthen my resolve that I may be a force for good, a light where there is darkness. Help me be guided by acts of love and kindness, compassion and understanding. May I find the way to transcend my inclination for strife and be a bearer of hope and righteousness. Though I have fallen, I rise again. Though I sit in darkness, God is my light. Guide me, comfort me, grant me strength. May this be my prayer.
Amen. What a beautiful words from our teacher and our friend and colleague, Rabbi Karen Kadar. As we sing together tonight, we sing the words from the book of Exodus, Vishamru, to remind us of the promise of the eternal covenant of this Shabbat, of this Sabbath. What a gift it is to be able to have this special time that we mark each and every week of sign of our covenant with God. Page 162 in the prayer book. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את שבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. As we move now into the tefillah, we think and sing together words from the book of Psalms as we begin our opportunity for deeper meditation and oneness. Adonai, Ananana Svatai Tifta, Ananana Ufi Agid, Ufi Agid Tehilate, Ananana Adonai. Ananana Svatai Tita, Ananana Ufi Agid Tehillah. Let's take some time now for quiet prayer and silent prayer. And if you so prefer to use the prayer book and traditional words through page 181.
We now take this time to think about those in our hearts, community, and around us who are in need of physical, spiritual, and emotional healing, and those who tirelessly care for them. I also want to offer the space tonight if you are thinking about the healing that you need in this moment. Tonight, our Kol Ami community is thinking about Dave Abbott, Barry Karras, David Azek, Marina Kogan, Richard Bernard, Allison Knapp, Tim Bestenheiter, Addie Lelyveld, Elaine Blatt, Paul Marshall, Jim Bloomer, Lynn Ehrlich McCulley, Dan Bennell, Larry Mendelson, Steve Boardman, Fred Michaels, Bonnie Brown, Alan Miller, Bella Browning, Bruce Morgan, Sandra Cohen, Tammy Rabowski, Nada Chirina, Esther Richmond, Dale Cooley, Howard Romanoff, Lucy Dinner, Tracy Rosen, Phyllis Ehrlich, Mike Silverman, Tino Felipe, Henry Sommerfeld, Richard Frank, Rosina Spitzer, David Freed, Ronald Stoner, Jack Haney, Terry Taylor, Stephen Hochstein, and Eitan Wolf. Holy One of Blessing, I pray for the healing of those who are not whole, comfort for those helping them along their journey. May we each feel the other's presence in our own journey of healing, moving forward in love and in community. May you be our guide to healing. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim.
Amen. Sing together the Mishaberach for healing. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Li'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lamotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And let us say Amen. Well, Shabbat Shalom, friends. I'm so glad to be spending this Shabbat with you and with all of our friends at Kol Ami and around the country who share with us each week in these Shabbat services. Well, for me, the Hebrew word of the week has been savlanut, patience. Waiting for the results of the presidential election and the outcome of the Senate and the House races and so many propositions here in California has been indeed an exercise in patience. The counting continues, and now court challenges by the Trump administration and the GOP will tie the hands of many. We will need to practice this important value together through support, through breathing deeply, through our frustrations, our fears, our anxieties, regardless of how you voted. Some outcomes are already known. In West Hollywood, here, it appears two longtime council members, John Duran and John Heilman, were defeated. And we in our city have elected two new council members, Seppi Shine and John Erickson. We wish them both mazel tov from Kol Ami. I have extended congratulations to them both. I have thanked John Duran and John Heilman for their service and their friendship through the years, and I've invited our two new council members to address our congregation in the coming weeks. Now, some outcomes are not yet known. Senate races in Alaska that could elect Alaska's first Jewish senator, and also, we know, two Georgia Senate races now go to runoff. Again, one of the candidates is Jewish. Of course, the dripping of votes and counting of votes for the presidential election has not just our country on edge, but the entire world is riveted. In Hebrew, the word patience, savlanut, comes from the root sin vet lamed. Literally, it means to bear, to suffer, if you will. The virtue is to bear or suffer something unpleasant or painful without increasing suffering. Patience requires an inner fortitude and strength to literally endure whatever the situation might be. We can notice our feelings of being uncomfortable or anxious or angry. We don't have to repress those feelings, but savlanut, patience, can help us reframe and express our displeasure, even our anger, in more loving and thoughtful and perhaps even strategic and constructive ways. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Satanov defines the trait of savlanut, of patience, as when something bad happens to you and you did not have the power to avoid it, do not aggravate the situation even more through wasted grief. In other words, he's teaching us our worries aren't going to change the outcome. So have savlanut, patience, inner fortitude. Now, the biblical term for patience is actually completely different. It is literally meaning hoping, waiting for God. As in the famous passage in Genesis 49, I wait and hope for your deliverance, Adonai. Yeshua techa kiviti, Adonai. It says kiviti. I wait, I hope. That's why in our tradition there is a balance between savlanut, patience, and kiva, waiting or hoping for change. Hoping for change on the one hand, and then making it happen on the other. I know many of you were so involved this election cycle, donating money to various races, helping to register others to vote, writing postcards and text messages to get people to the polls, or some of you to vote for your favorite candidate or proposition. Many of us gave money to support candidates who represented our ideals. This is the flip side, if you will, of the Jewish ideal of patience, of savlanut. That is action. We don't wait around merely hoping for change, but we do everything in our power to ensure a positive outcome. This week's Torah portion, Vayera, in the book of Genesis, has so many important stories that shape the entire Jewish story. It's the core of the stories of Abraham and Sarah, our great founders of Judaism, Hagar, the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, which we read on Rosh Hashanah. But it is also the story of Abraham and Sarah welcoming the angels of God to their tent and later arguing on behalf of the righteous of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the rest of the story of what happened there. This is perhaps one of the most misunderstood and misquoted stories of the entire Bible. And frankly, it takes all of my patience, every ounce of savlanut that I have, to say it over and over again. The sin of Sodom is not about homosexuality. Let me say that again. The sin of Sodom and Gomorrah is not about homosexuality. The sin of Sodom is the horrible treatment of strangers in their midst. Our Parsha opens with a particularly strong story about how Abraham and Sarah welcomed 3 travelers to their tent, how they went out of their way to make these strangers, these travelers, feel at home. They washed their feet and made a feast for them and fed them. They showed them hospitality and kindness. And when the angels, they're supposedly angels of God, take their leave, It is then that God speaks intimately with Abraham about the crimes and the wickedness of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah and the plains, and about what God was planning and thinking of doing. In these verses in Genesis, Abraham shows great wisdom and patience, savlanut. Abraham engages with God in a conversation, speaking up, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Demanding of God accountability. Abraham strikes a deal with the divine to preserve a core, the righteous ones, as few as maybe 10 people there. As the scene shifts to the city of Sodom, we meet Abraham's nephew Lot, well versed in the values that Uncle Abe taught him, in the sacred value of hospitality to strangers in your midst. He shows his righteousness by welcoming these strange people in town, two of the angels who had just visited Abraham and Sarah, by the way. This is where things get dicey. The town members, the Sodomites, are enraged that Lot took them in and gave them shelter and protection. They riot and demand that the strangers be produced. Lot refuses. There is no patience anywhere for anyone. For you see, the sin of Sodom, sodomy, if you will, it isn't sexual immorality. It is rather the raging cruelty towards and hatred of the stranger. In Sodom and Gomorrah, they wanted to rape them and tear them limb to limb. This was their sin, not sexual desire, not lust. Rather, it was their desire towards abuse, the cruelty being the point. And this was why God wanted to punish the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, to destroy them. The rabbis teach us that only the welcome were actually welcome as guests. Only the wealthy were only welcome as guests in these cities. The poor were expelled or killed. They had a wealth gap too in Sodom and Gomorrah. The 1% were welcome, the rest not. In the Midrash, Pirkei de Rebbe Eliezer, the rabbis teach us that Sodom only liked the wealthy. The poor were to be feared, discarded, and anyone who was a resident of the cities that aided the poor by giving them food or water were then to be executed. Our rabbis teach this story that Lot's daughter would give food to the poor each time she went to draw water from the well. The Sodomites grabbed her and started to torture her and execute her for her sin of feeding the poor, and that it was her very cry aloud to God that brought the angels to Sodom in the first place. The Sodomites, according to the rabbi, is one whose cruelty to another human being is targeted. A Sodomite is one who refuses to care for the poor or the stranger in their midst. The sin of Sodom has nothing, let me say that again, nothing to do with being a gay person, a lesbian, a bi, or trans person. The sin of Sodom wasn't about sexual immorality, but human depravity and cruelty towards others who may not have standing in society. We better learn this lesson, and fast, right here. There's been way too much cruelty these last 4 years. Our tradition is clear. No more kids in cages. We must address the wealth gap in our society. We must care for the poor and the stranger in our midst. It is our calling. So tomorrow, yes, on Saturday, November 7th, if you are in Los Angeles, please drive by to our friends at Hollywood United Methodist Church. You know, the church with the red AIDS ribbon at Highland and Franklin, not far from the Hollywood Bowl. We need you to participate with Kol Ami and Muslims for Progressive Values and Hollywood United Methodist Church and the LA Neighborhood Councils, the LGBTQ Alliance. We're collecting supplies for homeless LGBTQ youth. New socks, new underwear, toiletries like shampoo and deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrushes, Tampax, condoms, masks, hand sanitizer. We're joining together to take action and not just wait around, to help strangers, young people who are hurting in our midst. Let us do something to overcome the cruelties that exist in our world, the sin of Sodom, if you will. And let us take action, not merely waiting for someone else to do the work. And even as we patiently wait for a new president to change the course of this country from the cruelty that we have seen these last 4 years, let us not wait to make the change we know is needed and we know is necessary to live out these Jewish values of chesed, loving kindness like Abraham and Sarah, of grace and welcoming the stranger in our midst. So may it be God's will. Ken Yehi Ratzu. It's my pleasure to introduce our Board of Trustees member, our hostess for the night, Rebecca Schurz, who has a word of welcome and some important announcements. Rebecca?
Shabbat Shalom. And thank you very much, Rabbi Eger, for counseling us on both that blend of patience and really positive action that we can take in this world. So I'm Rebecca Schurz. I'm a member of the Kol Ami Board of Trustees, and I'm very glad that all of you have joined us tonight to celebrate Shabbat together. Immediately following these services at 7:30, as we do each week, we will gather in a Zoom room for the Oneg Shabbat. Please do join in. The link is on the temple website on the calendar page, and the temple website is kol-ami.org, kol-ami.org. The link to the Oneg will be on the front landing page, so we really do hope to see you there. Tomorrow, in the morning on the 7th, it is our monthly Shabbat Awakening service at 10 a.m. So please mark your calendars and come and join for that. And also tomorrow, as Rabbi Eger just mentioned, the supply drive-through will be taking place at Hollywood United Methodist Church. So together with that church and with Muslims for Progressive Values, it's an opportunity to actually take some action, do something positive, come by and bring by the church new underwear, socks, toiletries, hand sanitizer, wipes. It's supporting homeless LGBTQ youth. It will be perfectly safe. It's a drive-through drop point, so there's no risk in terms of contact or anything else. Anytime between 10 and 3 tomorrow, it's that church that you see with the big red AIDS ribbon at the junction of Hollywood and Franklin. Additionally, tomorrow in the evening, the men of Kol Ami Mocha group has the next online game night. Rabbi Max Chaikin will lead a group in Havdalah as we gather on Zoom for a chance to schmooze and chat during this happy hour. Then there'll be the chance to play a few party games together using Jackbox TV, games that use your phones as remote control to play. Come to play or come just to kibbutz and connect socially during this time of continued physical distancing. Not to be outdone, next weekend, the Women of Kol Ami, WOKA, announces its second annual mini Shabbaton. So that's on Saturday the 14th at 10 a.m. online. The theme this year is Hearing the Voices of Women. Please join Rabbi Eger and the Women of Kol Ami for a morning of spirituality, music, and conversation. Our Scholar in Residence program on Sunday the 15th of November features one of the first Orthodox women rabbis, Rosh Kehila Din Najama Naiman of the Kehila of Riverside, who is an expert in Jewish bioethics. She will be speaking about Jewish medical ethics and organ transplants. Excuse me. The information for all of that and the many other programs that are being run out of the synagogue and the many other opportunities to meet and greet while we are still all a little remote from each other, all of that is on the website at kol-ami.org. While you're there on the website, please do take a moment to make a donation or sponsor a program or donate in honor of the memory of a loved one. We invite you to support our vast array of programs and classes, and that we offer those out to the community to the much greater extent at no cost, so donations are hugely appreciated. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm on page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
On this Shabbat Vayera, as we're coming towards already close to the end of Cheshvan, the last weeks of Cheshvan, we want to remember that it was 25 years ago this past week that Yitzhak Rabin, Israel's prime minister, was murdered as he sang just moments prior for peace between Israel and her neighbors. He was assassinated. And this was really shook Israeli society. It shook all of those of us who believe in democracy and who strive for peace. We remember him. He was once a warrior, but he was also a man who had the courage to face his enemies and turn them into friends. We also remember that this coming week on November 9th is Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, a night in 1930s when the Nazis rampaged throughout Germany, smashing Jewish-owned store windows and burning synagogues throughout the country. So many people, it was really, in some ways, marked the true beginning of the terror of the Nazis against the Jews. And as we live in a time where anti-Semitism has grown and around us and gathered strength once again, we take time to pause at this moment in our lives to vow to fight anti-Semitism at every corner and to never forget our family members and friends who died at the hands of the Nazis during the Holocaust. Tonight, we're observing the Yortzites of Edward Gould, brother of Barbara Uskup, Louis Singer, father of Milton Singer, who was a member of our congregation, Hilda Feibisch, mother of Sam Feibisch DeWitt, Roy Gold, father of Cheryl Gould, and Howard Jacobs, son of Dorothy Jacobs, Virginia Sen, mothers of Miles Sen, Betty Reisman, mother of Stephen Reisman, Pearl Shapiro, mother-in-law of Stephen Weiss, Arlene Zwerin, sister of Richie Weinberger, Lucky Munoz, a great aunt of David Bernstein, Sylvia Strauss, cousin of Sam Feibisch DeWitt, Mehdi Harunian, father of Joseph Harunian, Nick Ruvo, father of Michael Ruvo, Cantor William Charlin, beloved teacher and friend of Cantor Saltzman, and Helen Lang, mother of Lori Lang. And we're reciting Kaddish this year for Betty Perry, mother of Jan Perry, Jennifer Bachner, sister of Mark Whitman, David Slobodian, Vivi Davidson, Azkarem Milchan, Claire Cohen, Shel Rosenthal, Bo Miller, Chris Jacobs, Audrey Weiss, Ray Lopez, Bilka Cole, Robert Barnett, Israel Irving Margolin, Nina Ross, Michael Finelli, Patricia D'Amico, Leonard Mark Leibovitz, Rabbi Richard Levitin, Murray Levine, Luke Thornton, Chantal Legberg, Edward Wolf Salzberg, Lenny Schulman, Rebecca Alexander, Robert Kent, Orlando Castorina, Shirley Glantz, Carol Reback, Andre Lubachenko, Marcy Anderson Lane, Michael Wood, Lori Glickman, Joan Selvin, Jean Rogolski, Patty Weinbar, and Adair Faust. And I know many of you are remembering loved ones tonight, wherever you are. If you'd like to write their name in the chat on YouTube or on Facebook, and certainly say their name aloud wherever you are. We hold and treasure each and every one of their memories as we recite together the Mourner's Kaddish, which you can find on page 598 in your prayer book. We say together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divrach yutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, B'gala v'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudusha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'kol Yoshvei Tevel ve'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May each of their memories live for a blessing in our lives. Our closing song tonight, as we join together, is Adonai Oz, which you can find on page 642. Adonai Oz le'amo yitain. Adonai Oz le'amo yitain. Adonai Oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yiborech et amo. Adonai yiborech et amo. Shalom, Adonai, Yivarech et amo, Vashalom, Vashalom, Adonai, Oz le'amo yitain, Adonai, Oz le'amo yitain, Adonai, Oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai yivarech et amo.
Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. On this Shabbat, O God, spread over us the shelter of your peace. And as Rabbi Eger taught us, help us carry both waiting and patience. May this balance grant us peace to wait as we speak up, take action, and care for the stranger as we wait patiently. Let us not wait to be loving, kind, or gracious. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat Shalom from Congregation Kol Ami in West Hollywood. Thanks for being with us. Hope to see you at our Oneg Shabbat soon. You can get there again by going to our website, kol-ami.org, and click the Oneg Shabbat button. Shabbat Shalom, friends.